Hey, sir, how are you today?
I'm okay. I'm dealing with it.
Okay, so it's been some rough couple days or what? Just hanging
Yeah,
in there in general?
yeah. I'm not embarrassed. I've never been embarrassed to come forward about having a rough time of it mentally.
Okay,
So basically, I have to reevaluate my medications with my doctor because they're not working, and I'm getting hit pretty hard right now. But
okay,
the reason I don't have a problem with like revealing that kind of personal stuff is because it's important to me, and it never was before, but in the last 5, 10 years, maybe it's important for me to connect with other people that want to talk to me about situations they're having that are similar. So I don't think that
okay,
it's important when you're having a problem. It's certainly not private to talk about how you broke your legs in a car accident. It's the same kind of pain in a way. Um, there's a lot of sleeping. I think this weekend I slept 25 hours. And that's
um,
that's not good.
yeah,
Uh,
too much sleep maybe, but I hear what you're saying. So it's good to talk to other people about maybe not exactly the same issues, but similar types of issues because it
mine
can
are hard to
help.
explain. Mine are really hard to explain, and I would like to maybe find somebody because it would benefit me too. I would like to find somebody that can somehow explain in words what this is like because it can't be explained in words. I've tried it for years. I've tried. I don't know where it comes from. It might be because the medication that I've been taking to help treat my issues doesn't work anymore, or it might be that I'm taking them wrong, or that I've been told to take them a certain way that doesn't work. But either way, it's hard to deal with, and the only way that I can kind of snap out of it is to get up. I force myself to get up and do something busy, do something that takes my mind off of it, whether it's cleaning or playing guitar. I've been playing a lot of guitar. Um, and
I mean,
there's some external stuff too that could be the cause of it, but um, there doesn't really seem to be a trigger because there's nothing wrong um, around me. It just sucks. It just sucks. I'm so tired of it.
um,
But
well, I
anyway,
was just going to say that you could just if you want to do something random or something different, you could take a flight out to Finland and come hang out with us for like a week if you want.
well, it's
We
interesting that
could
you
work on
said that
some.
because I said I need what I need to go visit my parents
Okay.
because I haven't seen them in so long. It's been God, I haven't seen my dad in probably 8 years, and there's no reason for me to not go out there and make a trip and visit them just to see that everything's okay. Because I worry about that, you know. Um, so I want to be aware if there's anything that is going on with them that they wouldn't tell me. I just need to go out and myself that they're okay. But I was also thinking about doing like online guitar lessons or something. Um, just to keep me busy. Um, I never wanted. I don't want to do something like what is it called when there's like celebrities, minor celebrities usually that are on. Oh, somebody tell me what it is.
Oh, you mean That thing that Phil and April do?
Yeah. Cameo.
Cameo.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to be able, if I'm going to charge somebody to interact with me, it would have to be like in a teaching sense, you know, passing on some kind of
Yeah,
knowledge. In my case, it would have to
that's
be. So I just want to ask if does anybody want to do that? Like, would anybody want to like take online guitar lessons or learn songs if they already play guitar? Even though, even though with my Wi-Fi being as bad as it is. So just let
yeah.
me know. Go ahead, Matthew. Tell me how you're doing.
Well, no, it's interesting that you say that because I've been also trying to do the same thing with like teaching guitar lessons or bass lessons online and or like
I saw you.
songwriting and producing tips. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think it would be great for you to do that as well. And I think that there is no one person that people can learn from. I think people can learn from many different people. Like some people have really good skills and other people have really good skills, and it's good to, if you're going to take lessons, it's good to have like several different teachers because you can't just stick with one person. So I think it's great that you want to do it, and I've had a couple students already, and I think it's great. It's very awkward at first because we're doing it like this, but actually it's not for you and me because we do this all the time. So it actually comes a little bit more natural talking to somebody from a different country on a video chat doing lessons because it's actually kind of fun.
Yeah. I mean, I've done lessons. Nobody really knows this. I haven't talked about it that much, but a
Okay.
couple of years ago, I was hired to do music lessons at an elementary school.
Yeah, you were saying that on some of the Smundays before.
Yes, and the kids, but the problem is that the kids were between 4 and 8. And then it was a nightmare because it was kind of like being, I feel bad for teachers because when you're trying to get the attention of a class of 15, 4 to 8-year-old kids that don't really want to be there to learn music, it's just that their parents kind of want to have a little bit more time off. They enrolled these children into this class, and I taught this class, and it was very frustrating because I was not a music teacher. I was a parent. I was babysitting for the most part. But then I had a student. I said, this just isn't for me. I mean, the pay was really good, but I didn't care about that. It was driving me nuts because I'm teenagers, and I've already gone through the 4 to 8-year-old bullshit, So it was difficult, and these weren't my kids, so I didn't really care. But I did have one student, and he took about 15 lessons with me. And from the beginning of what I was really proud of is that the first lesson, he didn't even know how to hold the guitar. We worked on acoustics. And by like the 7th lesson, he was playing Nirvana songs, and because he loved Nirvana, and he was playing "Come as You Are," "It Smells Like Teen Spirit." He got really, really, really good. And then, of course, 96 Bitter Beings started to do their thing, and we had to go on tour, so I had to stop playing with them. And then, when I came back, they were like, you want to, continue? And they were asking me, like, do you want to continue? And I said, I probably can't because I can't be counted on to be punctual or, reliable being in a band. So, but that was really fun. That was rewarding. This kid knew nothing. He was a very smart kid, and he didn't know anything. And by like 6 or 7, he was, playing his Nirvana songs and, of course, Enter Sandman and stuff like that. So that was cool. But I'm thinking, like, I think it might help me mentally
Definitely.
if I had a schedule of students
Hmm.
that maybe not teaching from the start, maybe teaching songs they want to learn, not just mine, but anything that they might want to learn. That's something I would like to do, and and see how it works out. I'm very hard with times and schedules, and even though I have a notebook when I write everything down, I still forget shit.
Yeah. So something that I've been doing is, so I've been telling people, hey, I would love to give you guitar lessons, bass lessons, songwriting, help you get through a song. If you're working on a song, I can help you try to finish it, which is something that some people have been having trouble with. And at this point, I don't want to put a price tag on it. So I'm not going to say like, hey, I'm going to charge you this amount. Now, everybody's different, but the way that I do it is I'll say like, look, let's just work on it together. I'll schedule a time with you, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. I usually go over because I'm very passionate when I do things. I'm going to do it till it's finished. And then at the end, I say like, look, if you want to tip me for the time, go for it. Whatever you can afford to give me, that would be great. Because I understand that some people don't have a lot of money to spend on lessons. And I don't feel that it's fair for them to suffer and not be able to learn things. So if they can only give me 20 bucks, they can give me 20 bucks. If they want to tip me 50 bucks, they can tip me 50 bucks. So if you have it, you can give it to me. If you don't, just give me what you can, and we can continue to do it as long as we can continue to do it. And I think the students that I've had so far have done that, and I've really appreciated it. And you so I benefit from it so much because when I'm talking to people, like I can really see like how much they really appreciate it and how much they want to learn, and it inspires me at the end of the lesson after all that like emotional work that I'm doing. I feel like so gratified and I feel so inspired myself that we just went through this thing, and it's just a great thing. I think you would really benefit from it mentally too. I think it's an awesome thing. Everybody wants to learn, and I think learning from Mel Bay or just like basic notes and stuff is kind of boring in my opinion. I think learning from like real working blue collar working musicians is really beneficial to anybody that's just starting.
Well, I don't know how well I would do with a beginner, and I don't know that I would want to even limit it to guitar lessons. I am uncomfortable with having to charge money for it, but
Yeah, that's the tough part for me. It's like I don't. What am I supposed to say? Like,
in my situation, I would kind of have to because
hmm
otherwise it would be, uh, I don't know. I think that I'd be dealing with um, a situation where I'd have a lot of other people in my family and other things saying it's ridiculous. And but I mean, we all have to make money. We have to keep income coming
yeah,
in. I just didn't want it to be something where it's like, call me and I'll talk to you for 15 minutes for $40. Like I don't. That's
yeah, me neither.
makes me sick.
And and when I said that to some of the people that have DM'd me, they all tell me like Matthew, like you got to like you have to understand like you need to this is work. You have to get paid. Like don't feel weird for asking us for money. And I'm always like, yeah, but like I don't know. I just don't want to. And so everybody's actually they understand.
It's
Like they know. Like
it's uncomfortable, but you know what? When my psychiatrist is talking to me like he wants to help me, he stops at a certain point and says, "We can't go on." And if I don't pay him, then
right.
he doesn't want to help me again. And that's just the way it
Yeah.
is. And
True.
there's a really good point here made by Daughter of the Water.
She's awesome, Courtney Nord.
It
She's
says, respect your time and worth. I'd love to be able to play more variety with more consistency. It's a lucrative idea. I like that comment. It's a lucrative idea. It's probably something that a lot of people would see as, duh, obviously you should be doing this while, you have downtime. Because my kids are self-sufficient. My son just wrote this amazing poem. It blew me away. It's called Higher Than the Sky. And it's I remember I used to know all the names of all different kind of poetry like soliloquies and I don't know, I can't remember any of that. I can't even remember the name of the kid that I gave all those lessons to. Like my memory of names of things is shot. But I know there's all different kinds of poetry. And he was like, Dad, it doesn't rhyme. Don't look for it to rhyme. I was like, I understand. I understand how it works. You know, there are songs that can do that. I write lyrics for songs. I don't write poetry. But I know that there's all different kinds of poetry. Some rhyme, some don't. Some are. There's no rules to poetry. And when he read me his poem, I was blown away, and it was the first time that I thought possibly with this little bit of possibility that maybe one of my kids inherited something creative from me. I didn't want to make it about me, but his poem was amazing. And, you know, I have 3 kids that grew up not really aware of what their dad did, and they're their own people, they're individuals, and they're very hardworking and they're very self-sufficient. I have so much faith that they're going to take over the world. I know every parent says that, but these kids are, I mean, the only way I can prove it without sounding like every other parent that thinks their kids are the best is that they're all straight A students, as you know, Maddie, and you met them. And
Yeah.
They, my son especially is, well, my daughter too. I mean, they're just, I don't think that they would have achieved so much in such a short amount of time if they had watched me and done and taken after me. So that's what blows my mind, is that I have enough time to deal with my own issues because they're self-sufficient.
Well, I just wanted to mention that,
Maybe that's part of the problem. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, I just wanted to mention, so daughter of the Woodard who made that comment, Courtney Nord, she's an amazing solo artist. She's actually singing on some of the songs that I have on my album that I'm working on. But another thing that she's doing is she's giving lessons about sync licensing. She's actually going to school. She's studying law, music law, and she's giving courses on sync licensing. And I think it's just a matter of, what's that?
Like kind of like entertainment lawyer kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Big. So she's like really diving into it. And so one of the things that she can do is, because she's got really good knowledge and skills on that subject, that she's giving lessons. So it makes sense, you know, not only like, and I also don't want to say that I'm giving just guitar lessons, because I like to just also just talk to people. Like, one of the things that's very difficult, as you may know, like if you're sitting there, like what's the purpose of why you want to play guitar? Like why do you want to practice? Like what is your goals? And like when we talk about that, it really like opens up everybody's like possibilities. Like, oh yeah, like I can learn this scale, but like why am I learning this scale? Like what is it that what's my end goal? Do I want to learn how to play a song? Do I want to start a band? Do I want to write a song? You know, and I think
that would definitely, I know exactly what you're talking about, and that would be an issue for me as far as certain lessons, because I don't know any music theory, just like I don't know.
Yeah.
I never was interested in famous poets or famous lyricists or Beethoven or anybody who was really interested in music, because the academics of music is not how I got where I am. I don't know what an A chord is. I don't know what an A sharp chord is. So if anybody's looking for some kind of theory, I mean, I can understand like guitar exercises, which are very important, because it gets your fingers to a place where if you're repetitive with your left or right hand, whatever kind of guitar you play, left-handed or right-handed, it's all about fingers and it's all about picking. And if you already know enough about the guitar and you want to learn to write, which I think would be my strong suit, is teaching how to write, or teaching somebody how to play a song they really like, that would be easy for me if it was enjoyable to the student.
Yeah, and that's the thing with today. Like you said, there's no rules. So there's no rules on how you want to be, a teacher or teaching people. And I think that we all have different, different skill sets and different methods. So that's why it's important for people taking lessons. Don't just stick to one music. Like if you have a music teacher in your local town and you're going and you're learning guitar, like don't be nervous or afraid to broaden your, different people's ideas and it's good to like get different input. It's not always good to keep it like when I was taking guitar lessons from Chris Shepard, who was
Wow.
my teacher for
Was he
years.
girls?
Yeah, he was in the Udells and he was one of Chad's rival guitar players in high school. It was like Chad and Chris Shepard were like the competition guitar players, and I used to take lessons from Chris and then go home and tell Chad what I learned, and he'd be like, well, he's like teaching me this, and I could show you. It was like a funny thing, but it was good that I did. I had Chad was helping me with guitar. He was, and Chris was, and I was learning so much from different people that if I would have just stuck with Chris, I would have had maybe more of like a style that he has, which he is like he went to school. He went to like he's got a master's in music, and he was very traditional, and it was just like talking to somebody who wasn't, had a master's in music and who wasn't traditional was also very good for me because I learned a completely different set of skills.
Hmm.
So
Well,
I think it's important.
I kind of am like the opposite of that because somebody with masters in music, it doesn't really mean anything. And that is just um, an assumption that I come up with based on my very short, uh, uh, my short stay at Berkeley Music in Boston. But I
Hey,
have to give
fix
credit.
fix your
I have to
microphone.
give credit
Fix
where,
your microphone.
what's that?
Okay, your phone. The microphone was weird. On the phone.
I
It
haven't
works
touched
now.
it, so it's obviously. Can you hear me
Okay.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, going to a school where you're learning that stuff about music through somebody that has a master's degree. That's all fine and good for them, but I have a following. My fans are so important to me because there isn't too too many of them, and there isn't too few. It's like the perfect amount of people that get what we're doing, where it's comfortable and it works, and it's a perfect scenario because anybody that would want to take lessons or talk about music or do talk about anything with me already knows what I've done, what I'm capable of, and I think it would be easier for me to help somebody that wants to learn. Not, I wouldn't want to teach them how to play like me. I think that I would first look at how they play and then kind of go with that. But of course, it would be an experiment. It would be interesting. I think it would be fun. I mean, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I mean, I know that Chad and Chris, and I can't remember. There's
Shepard.
some remember names sometimes. I don't.
Hey,
Chris Shepard. I remember that,
hey,
but I
Darren.
pictured
Can
his
I
face.
I just want to jump in really quick because it's so funny that sometimes when you and I do these live streams, like the stars align, and we just said Chris Shepard, and then you said, wasn't he in the Udells? And right after you said that, Johnny U just came onto the live stream and waved to us. So it's pretty funny that these things happen to us sometimes.
That's interesting. I haven't. I yeah, if Johnny is still in the room, I think that he probably knows what story I'm going to tell right now. When we were sitting in Mel's diner, I brought my 2-year-old at the time, Bianca, to the diner with us, and me and him were eating lunch. It was on Ventura Boulevard, I believe, and my daughter projectile vomited all over him.
Oh, man.
And which 2-year-olds do, they just
Yeah.
do.
No. Right.
So he handled it quite well. So I don't know if he's still in here, but if he definitely remembers that, and that's like one of the funny stories with Johnny. And plus him blasting "Shout at the Devil" on the Vans Warped Tour while he was driving, getting off at every exit and having little meltdowns because he didn't want to be the only one that was awake driving.
He remembers. He's still in here.
Of course, yeah. Of course, how could you couldn't forget? I wouldn't even forget that, and I forget everything. But it's funny because you mentioned Chris from you.
Chris Shepard. Yeah.
Sometimes I can't remember names, and I remember the faces. And for him, I remember the name, and I can't remember his face at all. Like I couldn't pick him up. Like I couldn't pick him out of a lineup of 3 people, you know. But like I was saying, like you learned from Chris Shepard and Chad. I learned a lot about vocals from Chad. A lot about what I was capable of doing that I didn't know of, because if you listen, and here's the best story to get this point across. If you listen to my vocals on the gold tape, which I thought I was killing it on there, song-wise, well, in my heart, I knew we were doing the wrong thing, but we were working at Studio 4, which was exciting, and we had Mikey Bones. Do you remember Mikey Bones?
That name sounds familiar.
Studio 4. He was an engineer. He engineered a lot of huge albums, but he was our engineer on the gold tape, and he refused to produce in any way, shape, or form, which I still to this day don't really know what a producer does because I've never hired one. But when I said, what do you think of that last line? Should I redo it? He'd be like, he was quite a stoner. He said, I'm not here to produce, man. I'm just here to get this done. He was a huge stoner. And I was just like, come on, tell me. And he wouldn't tell me. Like, he seriously refused to tell me if my vocals were good or not. And I remember that I had one flat way of singing. I don't know what you would call it. It was like one register. It was like one very limited vocal range. And going in to do volume 1, which was a year when we started, maybe a year later, if you put the vocals on my vocals of volume 1 against the vocals on the gold tape, then you'll see that how much Chad got being a vocalist out of me, which it took years and years for me to be a decent singer. Live, it was just about the live show. So my vocals live are very different than they are on tape. But now I feel like I'm finally a vocalist with Carver City was the first time I was proud of my vocals. Answer Can Be Found got erased, so all my good vocal takes were erased anyway, and we had to repair that record. It was erased. And then for the first time, and then Acoustified was another time where I tried to do a good job vocally, but I wasn't impressed with that because there was a lot of different issues going on at that time, and I think I let too many bad performances slide, even though people say that's crazy. They can't hear anything wrong with the vocals. But with 96 Bitter Beings, I think the vocals on Campaign and Synergy are the pinnacle. Like I haven't peaked. And the reason I know that is because with the re-recordings of the CKY songs that we just completed, the first batch of 9 songs, I sent them to a few people, one being Nuclear Blast, and it was really cool and humbling to get feedback, especially from Triple Manic State, that this new version of Triple Manic State makes the original sound like a demo. And the original version of Triple Manic State is all auto-tune, because the original good or decent vocal tracks which probably weren't good enough, got erased. So we had to use alternate takes that were underneath the final ones that were like good. But since they were erased, we were able to get all the data back and all the recording back. And unfortunately, we had to take not so good takes and auto-tune them. So I'm completely auto-tuned on Answer Can Be Found. So I wanted to do the Answer Can Be Found songs, Suddenly Tragic, The Way You Live, Dressed in Decay, and Triple Manic State. I wanted to do them first, although I didn't think about it. I want to do Answer Can Be. It just happened. And the vocals on those songs and the way those songs sound now blows away the originals. So, like, I sent Dressed in Decay and Triple Manic State and Suddenly Tragic. I sent all those songs out to a couple people, and they're just like, oh my God. And that's because this was how these songs were supposed to sound. And also, Flesh in the Gear, Flesh in the Gear, Shock and Terror, Stinking in the Underground. Those are the Infiltrate songs that I redid, and the vocals especially, everything's played the same. We added some atmosphere where applicable, edited certain things out that weren't necessary, but the vocals are so much better than I've ever sang in my life. And I'm 47 years old, and that's not really, the way it works. Usually when you lose what you had as a kid. Am I freezing? Am I having a problem?
Yeah, you're starting to freeze for a second.
Yeah. Tell me when I'm not frozen.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, Darren. I think that when we get older, as long as we continue to practice and play, whether it's guitar or singing, I think most people tend to get better. So I think you've been singing for years and years and years. You're only getting better. It's only getting better.
But that's how I feel, and that's what I've been told, because I refuse to use auto-tune past one line of vocals. I think that there's one word on Synergy that's been auto-tuned. And there's one word on these re-recordings that are finished and about to be handed in that has been auto-tuned. But that's just something that you didn't catch while you were doing it. Like, once Kenneth mixed all the stuff, I was like, you know what? It's too late to really go back and redo that because it's not going to sound the same. So I'm just like, just auto-tune a little bit. Most people make a career out of auto-tuning. So
Yeah,
I don't feel bad about it. But to have my vocals now better than they were when it was fine to auto-tune everything, which a lot was auto-tuned, I'm proud of that. I'm proud. A 47-year-old rock band metal guy that's still doing what he's been doing for 25 years usually doesn't get that feedback. So you've never sounded better unless they're kissing my ass. Now, people that told me that I'm getting better have no reason to kiss my ass. So I'm really proud of that. There's no yes people saying, oh my God, you're so good now. I can't believe that you can still punch it out. I'm really proud that the most recent recordings that I've made that I've sang on, people are saying I'm improving. So I just wanted to share that because it's very different from what happens to other people when their songwriting starts to suffer, get on auto.
Well, there's a lot of good things going on, and like I've been telling you, this year is going to be the year that I want to help you out as much as possible because you're moving on to really amazing things with these re-recordings, with your album, with your touring that's coming up. And I think we just got to push it as hard as we can because, like you said, you know, I feel like I'm just getting started. I don't feel like, you know, that's
It's a bizarre feeling. We have so much experience. We've experienced so many amazing things. What we've done with our bands, whether it be something really strange and unbelievable that happens on the tour bus, like for instance Murray Murray walking around the tour bus naked for no particular reason. Like that shit makes me laugh, and I love to laugh. I love to laugh.
yeah.
Laughing makes me feel so much better, but the sense of humor that I have is so rare that I fake laugh too much, which makes me feel terrible. So things like that, like there's so many things. I don't think people understand the kind of things that went on in this band. I'm not going to go so far and say that they don't happen in other bands while they're traveling, but
I'd have to say that I've been around a lot of other bands, and some of the shit that's going on with this group of people that we all know doesn't happen. It does. These things don't happen. Johnny U is sending a request to join. Should we bring Johnny in?
Why not? But you know what? My Wi-Fi is so bad. You know, I might.
Yeah, okay, well, let's see what happens. Let's try.
This is going to be weird. I haven't seen him in so long. Is he coming in? There he is. Okay. He looks like animal.
Yeah, I still play like him too.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Look at you fucking guys.
How long? God, kind of look like Howard Stern, but you still look like Jonny Udell.
Oh, Jesus, the fucking Howard Stern thing never dies, does it?
Do you get a lot of that?
Well, I was getting Robert Plant for a minute, and then it went Howard Stern real fast.
Robert, too. But you look good, and it's good to see you.
Yeah, you too,
Yeah.
man. You look the same. Both you guys. Janitis hasn't aged a day. Fucking unbelievable.
So, Johnny, are you in California?
Yeah, I just got back from Vancouver on Wednesday.
You were on tour.
No, we were recording an album up there for like a month. It was pretty
Okay.
wild. Yeah, we did it with this
really
guy
good.
named Mike Frazier.
Actually,
Pretty awesome.
I'm actually pretty shocked that you're in here, and you have to tell me more about what band you're in. It's not the Knives. Wow.
No, speaking of tour bus stories, the Mangina, Levon, and the Rock Audio Tour running naked onto your bus for no apparent reason whatsoever. I play in a band called the Mercury Riots.
Cool.
And I was in Bullets and Octane for a while there, and then me and the guitar player from Bullets and Octane left during the pandemic and started this band. And things are going great.
The
No,
pandemic, all of us are. Yeah, God, this is such an unexpected thing to see Johnny. So
yeah. You know, the pandemic, as bad as it was for people dying, it worked wonders for my life, you know, and getting shit done. It was a restart. You know, to comment on what you guys were talking about, you know, about playing and getting better, I think as long as your heart's still in it is when, you know, it still
like I said,
rocks.
is not good.
What's that?
Autopilot is not a good thing.
No, and I think, you know, well, I'm not going to mention any names, but I think that's happened to some people we know, you know, through the years, that the passion is gone.
Well, there's been so many. There's been so many bands, and I do remember like when touring with you guys when you were the Knives. I'm sure a lot of people that will see this, or even people that are in here now, will see this and remember the Knives opening for CAY.
For like a year.
But I would, since we have you, I would like for you to tell your version of the projectile vomiting at Nell's Diner, and also anything else you can remember that happened during those ridiculous days, and don't feel the need to hold back anything.
Oh, okay. Well, well, I know that you still complain about the night that I stopped 17 times in one night.
Tell your side of that.
My side of that was somebody was feeding me Adderall all night for the whole tour. And this one particular day, this person went on another vehicle on that tour. And I couldn't stay awake. that was my story. So every like hour, I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to kill people.
Right, yeah. I remember that was your attitude. And that was the bus, or not the bus. It was a van. It was a Volcom van that I remember specifically had been used by the all-girl band Relish. And there was like a hole at the bottom of the van. Hit a deer, and they fucked up something. So we were breathing
I remember that.
Okay. We were breathing in carbon monoxide while we were driving. Do you remember that?
Yes, and do you remember the front of the van was fucked up, if I'm correct, too?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember we drove in a minivan to Minnesota to pick up that van. I remember that.
I don't. So basically, it would be cool to hear like your version of the craziest things that you witnessed during all the time that you were with us.
Well, I did just see some people I know pop on here, so I might want to filter some of this. But I remember Boise, Idaho. It was not, it's the Knitting Factory now, but I think it was called, God, I forget the name of what it used to be called. But I watched, we all watched Mary get a blowjob outside the tour bus. I remember that.
Always Mary. I don't,
Mary.
not because I don't remember seeing it, but because I wasn't there. I have no idea.
No, I remember it was just a thing because like that was my first tour, so that was not a normal thing for me to see. Back in the day,
but there's, yeah, I mean that's like just par for the course. That's like the shit that happened. But there was just so much stuff, and I can't specifically remember. Aside from, I think we did maybe 2 or 3 videos, or not video tours with you with the Nine.
4. We did August, September 05. We did November 05. We did June 06, and then we did Europe 06 in August of 06, where we actually were on your bus for that whole tour. And yes. I remember that specifically. I remember that was an amazing experience for me because that was like you guys presented like a dream for me to actually get to go and live on the bus for the first time and everything. That was amazing. But I remember just listening to Rich Girl by Hall & Oates one night in the back of the bus, somewhere in the middle of Europe, hammered.
Yeah,
that I remember specifically.
This is what I remember about Rich Girl. Every time I hear Rich Girl or somebody brings up that song Rich Girl, I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, that Chet and Dante were so close to having Hall sing that song with them on that Rudy and Blitz album.
That would have been fucking amazing. I don't know anything about that. But
it was this
that
close.
Would have been fucking sick. That would have been sick.
Would have been cool. Yeah.
That would have been sick.
What's really crazy to me is I know Hall & Oates, but does anybody know their first names?
John Hall, Daryl Hall, John Oates.
They're both John? Oh, Daryl Hall. And
no,
John.
Daryl Hall and John Oates, yeah. I got them backwards after a second. Are you still in California?
It's good that you guys brought up Dante because I love Dante and I named my son's middle name is Dante after Dante because Dante's such a great guy.
Tamino, right? Tamino.
He's amazing. He's my biggest influence as a drummer.
He's one of my biggest influences as a drummer as well.
I always liked practice.
I always liked Dante because he wasn't outwardly emotional on the outside. Like he didn't, even though he might have had reasons to be angry, or there's been certain situations where there was tension. he never like blew a gasket, you know.
Yeah,
And,
he used to always be like, "Fire it up, you know, fire
yeah,
it up, you know." That's all
and he
I'd
was a
ever say to
Dandelion.
them.
Dandelion. They did 2 albums.
I've been listening to a lot of Dandelion lately. And here's
I,
the thing: I got to be honest about Dandelion. Let's call it what it is. I
okay.
think there's
Well,
some
let's
songs
wait.
that are.
Before you say anything, tell everybody what Dandelion was, because it was really rare for any bands out of Philadelphia to make it in the business at all.
Yeah.
And
And they could have been went a
know,
lot further. They fucked themselves bad. Do you
there
know the
was
story with all that?
And Conshohocken was Studio 4, and it was owned by the Butcher Brothers, and they had a label with Columbia Records called Rough House. So far, am I correct?
Right, and then they split. Chris Schwartz and Phil Nicholas split, and it became like Rough Nation or something at one point.
Right. Yeah,
Or
and
something.
they okay. Just so okay. The Butcher Brothers. The reason why people should know anything about them is because they worked with that band that wore those 2 rap guys that wore their jeans backwards.
Crisscross.
Daddy Mac will make you jump, jump. Daddy Mac will make you jump.
And Cypress Hill. They also signed. Cypress Hill was their first band they ever signed.
That's right. So they were big with the rap community, and they had a lot of success. But with their rock, when they try to do rock, right out of my ass, Tidewater Grain.
Tidewater Grain, who was on the Warped Tour that one year we were on the Warped Tour. And also, I still listen to that Tidewater Grain album. I got to admit, I really like the album. I got to admit.
I
They also had, it was awesome. I loved it. Dandelion, Trip 66, and I think Tidewater Grain were the only 3 rock bands that I know that were on the label. Dandelion.
And Rudy and Blitz.
Okay, so that was Dandelion was Philadelphia's answer to Seattle's grunge situation.
Yes, very much.
Their first album caught a lot of, got a little bit of recognition, and then their second album with that Weird Me Out started to get a lot of airplay.
Yeah.
And the typical 90s thing, the story I heard, and maybe I'm wrong, but the story I heard was that drugs got in the way. They started missing radio interviews in the morning and shit like that, and eventually it went to shit by their own doing, from my understanding. And then Dante left, and they got another drummer there for a second, but I don't know whatever happened. I don't think anything. I know that Kevin lives in England now.
Wow.
Kevin and Maperno, yeah.
Was there another band, though? There was another rock band. I know there was Trip 66, Dandelion, Rudy and Blitz was signed, but that's what happened with that is...
That's really still a mystery. I mean, there's no straight answer with whatever happened to that. There's speculations, but I mean, I don't know. How do you fuck that up? That's what I want to know.
Very easily in that situation. But I have a lot of fond memories of the Udells because we used to go see you guys play so much. Like we used to play
with you guys.
Grill. Yeah, at the Pontiac Grill, right?
Yeah.
And I remember
oil. Yeah.
Huey used to eat the worms.
Mm-hmm.
And
you heard about Hugh, right?
What's that?
We heard about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maddie told me. I had no idea. And I got along really well with Huey, and it's funny because in 1998, when we were doing demos, no, it was 1990, it was 2000. We were at Huey's, and he had this little recording set up, and we went over there. He was the first person that told me about eBay.
Interesting.
First person. And
he used to buy all the Spinal Tap footage that you couldn't get off of eBay.
Right. We watched that on the tour buses all the time. But another thing that Huey did, and I always rooted for him, and I thought that if he wasn't going to become a rock star, he would become something that people would appreciate.
Huey wrote a book.
But
it was like
another,
a book.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was a book.
Yeah.
Or
Talk about the
He's very creative, and the Udells were very creative. I just think that it was a difficult sell at that time. But he looked good.
I was listening the other day, and I thought to myself, it's held the test of time, which is pretty cool. And to think that those records are like 25 years old, like I think Sex We Don't Buy will be 25 years old in a couple of years, and Rich Via Radio was just 25 years old or something.
Yeah.
And
the only thing, what's funny is because talking about the Udells, I'm in the garage right now. I'm standing 10 feet away from me. The only Udell CD that I still have is the single for Hey Handsome.
The burnt
Which was a song that I really liked. I really liked that song.
You know what it's about?
Yeah, I loved it.
Do you know what it's about? It's
about something sexual, I think.
No, it's the perspective of Ron Goldman, who was killed by O.J. Simpson. The guy who was killed with O.J. Simpson's wife. It was written from his perspective. She killed your dude. Yeah.
She killed. Yeah.
Starbucks boy. That's where they met at a Starbucks.
Okay, so basically, it's about Nicole killing Ron Goldman by guilt of association with OJ.
Yeah.
Got it. But I listened to it about maybe 6 months ago, and I was like, man.
Speaking of Trip 66, there's 2 songs on that single that we recorded at what was the older brother of the Trip 66 guys that used to fucking manage them and record them?
I'm never gonna remember that.
Either am I. But we recorded it in the Trip 66 basement. The 2 songs, like I think "Sex Sells America" is one of the songs on there, which is a really cool song, and a different version of "Mama Dynamite," which is on the album. But
you know what?
I think the band was before its time. Like we were just ahead of our time or something.
Yeah. He kind of had that like monotone way of singing. He wasn't a very good singer, but a lot of people make careers out of being not very good singers. And just to prove I'm not lying.
The Burning Barbie. I always loved that cover with the neon green. I'm all about the neon colors. I have neon pink shoes on.
I love this song, and I remember I had all the Udell albums, and I don't know what happened to them, but I kept this single because I really liked this song. I thought Hey Handsome could have been a hit.
Yeah, I always liked that. I just tried jamming that the other day, and I realized that I made my life so much more difficult. That's the one thing I've learned as getting older is to simplify shit. Why didn't I play 4 on the floor years ago? I don't understand why. Why didn't I play quarter notes more? I don't know. Instead, I'm always like fucking trying to play eighth notes at like 200 beats per minute and shit. Stupid.
Yeah. Me and you were very similar in that we worried about very unworryable things.
I still do.
Me too. Me too.
I think it's problem. You know, it's
so on the single, that also is a song called Simp.
Yeah, it's a slow song. It's a great one. One of my favorites.
Kaleidoscopic Mama Dynamite exclusive and Sex Sells America exclusive.
Yep. The last 2 we recorded at the Billy, I want to think his name is. We're just going to call him Billy, Trip 66 Billy or whatever.
Well, it's probably credited in here. Let's see.
It might be. It might be. That's crazy. You got that. Simp, you remember David Ivory?
Billy Nagorski.
Billy Nagorski. I was right. I think.
Oh, Nagorski. Yeah.
And Maddie, you were in the Udells, right?
Yes, I was.
The last
and it was
song we ever recorded was with Maddie.
Smell of Emerald City.
Yep.
That's a great title. The Smell of Emerald City. Okay, it's like Emerald City obviously is something that you look like and you're like, oh my God, so why would you care about the smell of it?
I don't know if you guys know this, but when Huey had passed, he had given Chad a hard drive with over like 50 songs that Huey had written throughout his whole life, and he played them all on acoustic. So when Huey died, we actually, me, Ost, went down to Chad's house. Shepard, who never made it for whatever reason, said he was going to because we wanted to do Rampage. And we went down there and we took 2 of the songs, or 4 of the songs from that, and we took the acoustic versions, we dumped them in, and we built the songs on top of them. We did See Us on Venus, we did Top 40, and we did Disco Jelly Bean. And then there's a cover of Frank Sinatra that we worked on.
So Huey played guitar?
Yeah.
I didn't know he played a musical instrument.
Yeah.
And,
Well, he played good enough to write, but he wasn't like a guitar player.
right.
You know.
Just being good enough to write songs like Kurt Cobain.
Right.
Kurt Cobain wasn't, he wasn't like a progressive player, but
and his voice was like David Byrne from the Talking Heads, that kind of singing. Shit, just like unique. We used to always be compared to Captain Beefheart. I've never listened to Captain Beefheart, but people used to always be like, "You guys sound like that." I'm like,
Huey had such a cool voice. That was one thing that I still like Darren said, like he might not be like technically the best singer, but it doesn't matter. His voice was just so unique, and for me, it's like one of my favorite singers.
Yeah.
I wish I would have appreciated it then, because I remember, speaking of worrying, I always worried people wouldn't understand it.
Right.
Understand his voice. And people always like, Huey sucks. And it's like, no, he doesn't. You don't get it.
He has his own thing. There are people that try to sing that can't sing, and everyone knows they suck, but they also can't get their own personality vocally to where people can understand it and then appreciate it. Like Frank Zappa or Bob Dylan, where there's some people that are just like, that's just awful singing. But there are people that do understand it and do gravitate towards it. And I didn't know Huey, like we weren't close friends. Like I didn't have his phone number. We didn't email each other, but I learned so much from him. And I remember him telling me so many stories, the times that we were together, whether we were playing Pontiac or especially when we were at his house doing the sync.
You guys you recorded Flesh into Gear for the first time.
Okay, I was just going to say that. The Sinking Fast demo that's on CKY, one of the CKY videos, was done at Huey's basement. That's the only song that I can ever remember that anybody. And the reason that Flesh into Gear isn't called Sinking Fast is because Huey came up with the name Flesh into Gear.
Huey also came up with the name Rudy and Blitz.
Huey's amazing. He's also great
with the name Nick Udell,
which makes a lot of sense because it's a combination of Udell and Hudell.
Yeah.
So I always knew that, and I was like, wow. I hope Johnny stays in the band, otherwise the band name will be really awkward.
Well, he switched it around. When I did leave the band, he started spelling it Huepel.
But I know that he wrote a book, right?
Yep. Sock Muffin the Elf.
Sock Muffin the Elf. That's right.
He also did a theater presentation of the book.
Wow. Did he do that professionally, or was that independent? Like, did somebody pick it up?
Him and I hadn't talked for 14 months before he passed. Unfortunately.
That sucks. And I don't know how he passed. All I know is that guy had such a hard life because he almost died when he got hit by that car.
Got his head run over by a car.
His head was run over by a car. Now, for anybody that's listening, I don't want anybody to know that not know that his name was Hugh Asnan. So if you want to look up Hugh Asnan, we haven't mentioned his name yet. That was his name. He was a good friend of Chaz. He was a good friend of Jonny Udell's. I would have liked to have been better friends with him, but I wasn't around him that much. He taught me about eBay. He named Flesh into Gear, although the title was Flesh in the Gears, because we were talking about if you were driving a motorcycle and you crashed, your flesh would be in the gears of the motorcycle.
Interesting.
Yep. So that's how Sinking Fast became Flesh into Gear, because of Huey.
Interesting.
And his obsession with toys is something that I can really relate to.
Up until the day he passed away, his whole apartment was filled with fucking action figures.
Yep.
Everywhere. He died of COVID. Is how he died.
He died of COVID. Fuck.
Yeah. It's a real motherfucker. You know what sucks about that is my band was on tour over. We were the first American band to tour the UK after the pandemic. And I got stuck there with COVID. And I was in Edinburgh, and I got the phone call that he died while I was stuck there with COVID. And he died exactly 2 months till his 50th birthday. 2 months to the day to his 50th birthday. September 5th.
He had a very, very interesting and difficult life. I do remember certain details that don't seem very significant, but I do, and this is my problem, is that I remember things that are insignificant, and the important stuff I don't normally remember. But I remember that his dad was a jeweler.
Yep.
His
And we
mom,
used to rehearse on Jewelers Row in his dad's jewelry business
right,
building in the basement.
that I didn't know. But I
Yeah.
know that his dad was a jeweler. His mom died of cancer.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was strange, and I always remember the story because his neighbor died of cancer too. So we all started this conspiracy theory that everybody that lived on that block was going to get cancer.
My brother died of cancer.
Oh my God!
And I lived
This is
2
why
doors
we
down
should
from
talk more
Huey.
often.
Yeah. Two doors down from Huey. I've known Huey. I knew him from 2 years old. Like I knew him from like whenever I could walk out of the house. It's
I
crazy.
know that you, Chad, and Huey were like the gruesome threesome. You did that movie called Three, which Chad made me watch.
And Close Your Eyes. Jonny Udell's Close Your Eyes.
Maddie, have you ever seen Three? The movie?
Yeah,
Three?
I've seen three, and I used to go to the rehearsal room under the Jewelers Row when my brother used to play saxophone in the Udells. Like Huey is a big inspiration to my music career. So is Johnny in many ways. I mean, you guys are my older brother's friends who
Yeah.
played in bands, and I always just like wanted to do that when I was younger. So it was really rough for me to hear that he passed away, and but I love talking about the good stories, though, all the good things about Huey. So that's good.
One of my biggest, I guess one of the things that bums me out the most about him passing away is that we can never do a Hugh Downs thing ever again.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of a motherfucker. But you know, Huey, what a weird thing. You know, like that's the weirdest thing about getting older. You know, you guys were talking about that earlier. It's just like people die. It's fucking weird. It's just
And the older
weird.
we get, the more we find out that some of our friends are dying or they're dead. And we don't always find out right away. So it's a shock to find out, oh, so-and-so passed a week ago. And you're like, what? So
Yeah, that sucks. I hate that. I hate it.
yeah, I hate it too. And that's one of the hardest things about getting old is that people that you know, especially close friends and family, they start dying off, and it sucks. Because as I'm sure you guys can both agree that it still feels like we're 20.
Yeah, dude, that's the most fucked up thing about it, and that's what freaks me out. You know, you talk about the worrying thing. I need to fucking figure out a way to stop worrying about dying.
Yeah.
And like live the moment. Because like, I sit there and I worry about this shit because of this shit we're talking about. You know, it's like fucking so weird. You know, it's crazy. Getting older, it's like yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just gonna say that.
I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
You know, we're getting older, but it's like I feel no older than I did 20 years ago. The only difference is the wisdom. Like I wish I had this wisdom in high school because a teacher would piss me off. I'd be like, go fuck yourself, you know? Like when I was freaked out that I'd get in trouble, like as if that would matter.
Right.
Like,
the thing about feeling 20 when you're 47 or 50 or whatever is that there's a resentment that is old to us. Like the only thing that makes us old in 2023 is that we still feel like we're 20, but we have this resentment that we can't do the same things musically that we used to do back then. Like we can't make demos. We can't play certain clubs. We can't get signed and hopefully sell potentially millions of records. There's no MTV. It's a totally different thing. And being a 20-year-old trapped in a 47-year-old body, it's annoying to see everybody on their phones and not doing what we did.
This conversation today. Nuts. Kids today.
Yeah.
They got the advantage of YouTube. I see 6-year-olds where I'm like, I should just quit the drums. This fucking kid, it's just fucking ridiculous.
Right.
But yet they don't go outside and like play with their friends in the street anymore,
Yeah.
or not the street. Like I say the street because like street hockey. Or
It is the
something.
street.
But, like,
It's
play
South
in the
Street.
kids.
That
Yeah.
street is South Street.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, I got this video once sent to me on Facebook. It was like, if you were born between this year and that year, it was like 59 and 80. They were like, Facebook meant, you talked face to face and you read a book, or you went and said hello to your neighbors. You played outside until the sun went down. And nowadays kids don't even leave their house, it seems like.
Nope. They don't leave their houses. A lot of them,
Did the
they
pandemic
get really good at things. Sorry. Just like the old days, me and you are interrupting each other.
They call me the interrupter.
Go ahead.
No, please. I'll sit back and listen.
I was just going to say that kids online, you brought up a good point. They're getting really good at playing instruments for playing rock and metal. They're just not capable of getting into a group where there's kind of like a hierarchy. They can't deal with the social anxiety or the premise that they're going to be in a band where there's 4 or 5, maybe 3, 4 or 5 different personalities, and they all have to learn together without being so into themselves about how good they are with their instrument. They can't cope with others being good with their instruments, and then being able to form a team that has one that has one goal, which is maybe to be commercially successful. But
is that really any different though than what we experienced? I mean, how hard was it
yes,
to put together a band?
Because we didn't have access to what the rest of the world was doing. We didn't have access to find out what some dude in Arkansas, was able to do, and then fly him out, and then like play with him, and it was all bands were successful and got together back then because they lived near each other. They were friends. They accepted each other's talents and the limitations of those talents, or how far they could go. And now it just seems like I'm not even aware of rock bands I'm not aware of any.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, think about the Groundhog, and how we had like that place to go where we all went to Walt's house and hung out in a studio. Right. That, like, looking back at it, what a great studio that we had in our
what a great
in the neighborhood.
And it was an amazing social situation where we all got to be friends and talk and figure out who we wanted to work with and who we wanted to see. Like, there was it's so much different that you really can't explain it to anybody that's younger than we are. But I'm just saying that it was better, believe me, than it is now. That's my message to Gen Z, Generation X, is that, like my dad used to say, we had it so much better, we used to play kick the can and all that stuff. The 80s and 90s and early 2000s were better than that. But now, like, 2023 is nowhere near as cool as the late 80s and the 90s.
Well, your kids have to be like teenagers by now, I would imagine.
Yes, that's how I know what I think I know.
So, okay, 2 questions. A, how did the pandemic and being stuck at home affect your kids? And B, what do they do for fun?
The same thing they do for fun now. They didn't.
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. What do they do for fun now? But what did they, like, how did it affect them on a social level, being stuck in the house for like 2 years, more or less?
Well, it didn't, because they, like most kids during the pandemic, chose to avoid the rules of the pandemic.
I don't have kids, so I don't know what kids were doing.
They got together. They didn't change anything. I took it as an advantage of, wow, now I don't have to leave the house. But my kids did not, nobody's kid, not just mine, not throwing them under the bus, but nobody adhered to the rules. Nobody took them seriously. Nobody really thought that there was a threat. They didn't believe it. They couldn't comprehend it because they never had to deal with an emergency of any sort. So just like, it says, it's funny because like in California, as we know, when the pandemic first hit and everybody said, don't get into groups, stay 6 feet apart. And then we all saw that video about the governor of California and all this
having French dinner
with no masks, and then we started to not take it seriously. So when my daughter said, I'm going to my friend's house, probably at the time I was concerned, but I half-assedly said, you guys going to be wearing masks and be 6 feet apart? Yeah, Dad, of course. It was just any kind of, it was a rebellion, but I think that they were kind of justified in feeling like it wasn't really a threat.
Yeah.
But for some people it was.
And Huey never left the house. He managed to get it. He probably had something delivered. He got it from a delivery guy or some shit.
Yeah. And from the stories that I've heard about the people that died from it, it seems to be like a certain kind of person. It's like either low immune system, I heard, being overweight, being diabetic, just being, just having like the health, having some kind of health issues that wouldn't have affected you or killed you had COVID not come around. It seems like.
Yeah,
that's
and
what
there's no question that
I've had it 3
times. Been compromised with all the.
Yeah.
He had so many surgeries after his car accident.
Right.
Or after
that's
the
a good
accident.
point. So I think that his health was compromised in many ways. There was cancer in his family. That happened with the car, which when he told me that story, I couldn't believe it.
They never even caught those dudes. I'm sure those dudes are in prison or dead by now, but like one dude walked up in front of him and said, now you're going to give me your money. Before Huey could even have a chance, the other dude walked up from behind him and they just threw him in front of a moving car.
I remember.
No reason whatsoever. Huey would have given him the $5 in his pocket. He spent his 21st birthday in the hospital. I remember that.
That's one of the reasons, one of many reasons why I respected him so much, because for him to tell me that story and still be able to be a creative person, an outgoing person, productive, I couldn't imagine that, because I could never be that kind of person. That's so horrific. When he told me that story, it was so horrific that the only thing I could do was change the subject, because I couldn't handle even the story of what happened to him. So I don't even know how he was
I'm a real
able to
asshole. I couldn't handle it so much that I couldn't even go see him in the hospital. I couldn't look at him that way. It was like, and he never let me forget that. But
that's true.
Understandably though, because I should have, and I live with guilt with that one for sure.
It's hard. It's hard.
It was horrible though. I mean, it was horrible forever after that. He had like the patch over his eye, and then he would wear the prescription glasses that were sunglasses, and people would always give him shit
for wearing sunglasses.
Yeah, I wear my sunglasses at night. That whole fucking stupid joke and all that other bullshit.
The Corey Hart thing. I think he remembers, like, Corey Hart. I wear my sunglasses at night.
Yeah.
He always
just
wore
sing
sunglasses.
That to him.
And I thought, it ended up, the positive, one of probably, hopefully, a lot of positive things about that is that he did get that style of never taking off those sunglasses as being part of being Huey.
Here's a fun fact. Huey tried out for LA Guns. Tracy Guns, I guess it's Dan Gary 84 opened up for LA Guns, and Tracy Guns saw him, and he actually went and auditioned for LA Guns, which I thought was pretty cool. It's so
as a singer.
Ever. Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever, but I love it. It makes no sense at all.
I guess one of the band members saw his potential, and then when he got there, maybe they didn't really see what they thought they saw.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Probably.
Maddie, chime in because you know more than I do about this stuff.
It's great to hear all the good stories, and it's also great to see John and Johnny, and that his band has been doing, like he said, he just got back from the studio. They've been touring a lot. It'll be great to see if we cross paths sometime and maybe end up doing a show together.
We could
Awesome.
set something up. Have you heard any of
Totally.
the new stuff, Johnny?
I haven't heard any of it. I haven't. No.
Tisk tisk.
I know.
You
I
should
gotta
check
go
it
check that. Now I'll check it out tonight. I'll go check it out.
And then
I know
send me.
you had a record come out on Nuclear Blast. Yeah.
Yeah, just in November. Yeah, we did. It was just like CKY. We did our first album independent, and then we got signed to what's now considered a major label, and now we're going. It's just that touring is so difficult
So
now.
CKY has inspired my band in this way. So we've been getting a bunch of interest, and we decided not to sign anything and to go and make the record ourselves so we can own it. And I use Volume 1 as the example of, like, because of Volume 1, that still gives you guys a stream of fucking income because you guys still own that album, and
we still own it.
Yeah. So we went up to Vancouver.
Usually 90% of the time, 95% of the time back then is that you made a demo, it caught the attention of a record company, and they signed you, and then all your music was owned by them. We did the other thing. We made an album that had sales success. We never did a demo. We kind of did a demo, but we had an album that came out and had its own success with what we were doing, and then we were able to develop a contract with. We met with many major labels. I got to play the Strawberry Fields piano, John Lennon's piano,
awesome.
and Danny Iovine's office, or what's it? Is it Danny Iovine? Jimmy Iovine.
Jimmy
See that?
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a lot. There's so many stories about.
That's amazing.
Stuff like
you
that.
hung out with that guy. That dude produced Tom Petty and shit. Like that guy.
I know.
A legend.
It was really, really interesting, and but we didn't sign with Interscope. And we couldn't get a bidding war going because all the labels that we met with were under Universal.
Oh, that's a motherfucker.
But, not an important thing. The point is that, like, we followed the same formula of 96 put out a record ourselves. I shipped thousands of them in my house, in this garage, and in my loft by my own hand. I took the money, accepted the responsibility of shipping them all out, and then I had contacts at Nuclear Blast, and then that's how that came about. And it's going well. It's just hard to get touring going because what I read today, I've read so many things that European countries are controlled by Ticketmaster and stuff, so touring overseas is becoming harder for bigger bands. But now what I heard today is that if you're a band from America and you want to go to Europe, the visa, your work visa, is going to cost twice as much as it would have.
I've only had to get visas for England. For mainland Europe, never have to get visas. And we only tour in Europe because rock and roll in America, it's like fucking pointless. If you're on a big tour, like, it's worth it. But otherwise, it's like the ultimate bear dick punch, as I like to say. You ever see that picture? It's one of the best. Anyway, but
yeah,
it is enough to touring America. I talk to bands over in Europe, and they're always like, "Man, we want to come tour America," and I'm like, "No, you don't. Trust me. It's a hip hop nation." The one thing I noticed about Europe is they have the hip hop, they have all the rap, they have all that stuff, but they don't forget what they liked 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Where in America, they forget what they liked 6 weeks ago.
Yeah. And they're all embarrassed. Like every 35-year-old woman and man is embarrassed that they ever dressed in Doc Martens and wore eyeliner.
Yeah.
So
I still don't understand dudes who wear eyeliner.
It was a trend. It was a trend.
Still is.
But me and Maddie toured America in August, and we had a good time.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
We had a good time.
Major cities.
We had a great time because when you're tour, like Johnny knows, like when you tour with your friends, it makes the touring experience much better. So it was just like it was a fucking blast. But not only that, but everybody that watches like these Smundays and just people that we know, like we're at every show. So like
Yeah.
every show, we felt like we had friends. It was
We
pretty
had
cool.
friends and fans, and the attendance doubled from our 2020 tour, which was ironically and very oddly, it ended a week before the COVID lockdown happened. So we just got that tour done just in time, and we did U.S. and Canada, and we're in the middle of booking U.S. and Canada now, as well as Europe. So hoping that happens soon. But we just did U.S. in August, and it was a lot of fun, but it was an eye-opening experience because of how these major cities, I don't know, Johnny, if you've seen them or not, but Portland and Seattle,
Oh,
you wouldn't
It's
believe
horrible.
dude,
me and
I
Maddie
was just
saw.
in Vancouver. Okay, so let me ask you if it was this. So there's this new drug that's out there, and it took me a
Fentanyl.
while to figure out what it was.
Trank.
But it's Trank. It's Trank. It's this zombie
Trank.
shit, dude.
I didn't know.
The studio we were at, one of the studios we were at in Vancouver. We were at two different ones, and one of the ones we were at was in the gas district. Dude, they were Zombieville, man. Everywhere. They're standing up like they're on heroin, standing up completely bent over and not falling
That was
down.
Portland. That was Portland.
Portland and Seattle. And I have
it's
to
horrible.
I have to digress for a second because my phone's about to die, but I want, hopefully, Maddie, you and Johnny to continue telling stories and talking. I'm about to disappear any second. But Johnny, it was so good to talk to you.
You
and
too,
see
man.
you again.
Are you still in LA?
I'm in Valencia.
Oh shit, I'm still in Sherman Oaks. I drive by your old house all the time. I'm like, yeah, that's where Darren used to live. New
And it
people live
looks-
there.
I haven't driven by that house in a long time. It's on Noble and, God, what was the other street?
Well,
I
it
can't
was
remember.
Noble and Burbank was like
No,
Burbank, you
right,
turn up at
Noble and Burbank.
but you
And
go
now
up
I
a
live
block,
in-
and it was like the next block.
And now it's a shit, as I have been told, I haven't gone over there, but I have been told that Van Nuys is a complete shit house. No more better than Portland. But now I'm 5 minutes from
It
that
is a little
mountain,
bit.
and I love roller coasters, so me and my son get to go and ride the roller coasters all the time because we have, the year pass and all that stuff. But you
Are
guys,
you still married? Yeah.
yes, I'm still married.
Awesome.
And if
Okay.
I wasn't,
That's
I
amazing.
wouldn't. I don't believe in divorce, so divorce would never happen anyway. Even if that was an impending issue, I would never do that. I don't believe in divorce. If you're gonna get married, you're gonna get married. It's
Yeah.
kind of like divorce doesn't make sense to me because you've
I'm
already
divorced.
made that. For everyone else it's different. But for me personally, if you're gonna make a commitment that you are not supposed to be able to get out of ever, because it's a lifelong commitment, you can't just turn around and say, I made a mistake and now I don't want to. I want to go back.
Sure you can.
What's that?
I said, sure you can.
I know that's the thing. It's like not something that you should be able to go back on your promise. Otherwise, what's the point of getting married if it's something that you can change?
Totally.
Anyways,
I didn't realize these comments you were able to see them, or I wouldn't have written that comment about Shepard about that earlier.
well, Maddie reads them.
So our drummer, Thomas, who lives here in Finland with me, he just wrote that Americans do not need an employment visa to enter Europe. They can cross the border visa-free with ETIAS, but will need to apply for a work permit within 3 months of arrival.
None of that matters.
What I read is a work permit thing where if a country knows that somebody that's an immigrant is going to come and work and make money in their country, now they want more of it, is the point.
What they do with my band is what they've been doing, like especially in the EU, is they take the tax right off the top. So if we're getting paid, I don't know, like say 500 euros just to fucking make it easy, they'll take off
They've always
whatever,
done
and they'll just take it off the top.
They've always done that, but this thing that I read, and I don't believe everything that I read, but this thing that I read today isn't going to go into effect for a little while.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that anybody that's planning to go to Europe on a
Mhm.
work visa or as a musician or as an entertainer is now going to be double. Apparently, if it goes through, it's going to be double taxed. So I don't know, but I don't want to be cut off like the last
Well, yeah.
episode of Sopranos. So you guys go on talking, and I'll talk to you both.
Great to see you,
Good
Darren.
seeing
It's been
you.
like fucking
Good
years,
seeing
man.
you. It's been years.
Years.
Keep going.
literally. You
Keep
too,
going.
brother. You too. Awesome.
Yeah, Thomas, I don't know if you want to join the stream really quick, and I don't know how long Johnny can stay on, but it was awesome to have Johnny join today, and it was great, that you
Random.
and Darren got to talk.
I'm probably gonna end up going because I got the look from my chick. Like, what are you doing getting on a stream? I was just like,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
random. So I just got home, so I should probably go hang out with it. But hey,
But yeah.
I'll jump on anytime.
Yeah, let's keep in touch, and like I mentioned, it would be cool if, since we're already starting to try to get some gigs and stuff, it would be cool if you guys happen to have time where it worked out where we could do some shows together. Who knows? So let's
Coming over to
talk
Europe
about it.
in June, and maybe we can do something while we're over there in June, and then we'll be back again September, October. So
In Europe in September and October.
Mhm.
Okay, well that actually may or may not be the time that we're going to be doing it. So
all right, well,
Interesting.
we're also doing June also. So I don't know if that's when you're
Okay.
doing it either. So if not,
Well, what-
but we're real open to anything. So if you guys are like, hey, we're doing it this time, I'll be like, all right, we're coming.
Cool. Well, let's keep in touch and talk about it. And it was great to see you. And thank you all for joining today. Rock and roll.
Yeah, man. Nice for everybody out there. I don't know who's watching, but hello.
All right. Bye bye.
Awesome.